All right, Steeler fans, you know what time it is. It's the second half of the Friday Let's Ride podcast, which means it's time for the All Betz Are Off segment, in which case I have Jeremy Jerome Betz joining the show. What's up, Jeremy? How's it going?
Man, it's going good. Another Friday is here, and we got some Steelers to talk about. We'll be having a game in about a week here.
That's really hard to believe, but
It
yet
really is.
here we are. I want to kind of rewind the tape a little bit. I want to hear your thoughts on the roster cutdowns that had to happen by Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, as well as the practice squad signings that they're expecting. Obviously, all the things that happened. There were a lot of transactions there in about 72-hour time frame. What was your takeaway of roster cutdowns?
Well, I thought there were some surprises. It was kind of interesting that we kept talking all throughout camp about all the corner depth and all the pieces that they had there and how we felt really good about it. And then I think they only kept four corners on the 53-man roster. And it was like, well, that was a little bit shocking to me. There's obviously moves to be made still as we're recording this, but that was kind of the shocker up front to me. But I still think that overall, I mean, this is a great roster, Jeff. It really is. If you're looking at this team from the outside and you don't think of them as having one of the more complete rosters in the AFC, I really think they do. I don't see a lot of holes as long as some of the guys that you're hoping to have big seasons from, like Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu, and then the guys in the secondary, the new pieces. As long as those guys pan out to at least the average projection of what they're going to be, and maybe even a little bit better, I think that there's not a lot of holes on this roster outside of the wide receiver position. Which, again, as we're recording this, there could be some moves left to be made there as well.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Kind of, a lot of fans gets very angry and very upset about players that are cut, players that get to the practice squad that don't get to the practice squad, players that are kept when they think they should be cut. Really, I mean, we're talking about the fringe players. We're talking about the last 3 to 4 roster spots on the 53-man roster. How do you feel going into week one with, I'm talking about the primary 22 players who are going to be playing? Do you feel that this is a high-end roster? You kind of alluded to that, but I want to give you a chance to elaborate.
I really do. I think that they, outside of like the couple spots that we all know
Right.
well at this point, and don't need to really hash out anymore. I really do think that this is a team that should have high expectations of themselves. Again, especially on that defensive side, they should expect to dominate games. I mean, there shouldn't be many offenses that this team runs into that they shouldn't be able to hold under 20 points or
Yeah.
around 20 points. I mean, let the elite offenses in the league, right? The Bengals, the Ravens, you got to play each of those two teams twice. You got to play Buffalo once this year. You're going to play Green Bay. There's going to be a few offenses in here, Detroit, that you're going to have to play against that are going to be really good. But overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers should expect themselves to be very, very good on defense. And if they're not, then something went wrong. Something went wrong with coaching, prep, or the acquisitions didn't pan out the way they were supposed to. But otherwise, I think that this defense is going to lead the way, and the offense should be good enough to win games. I think that they can create matchup problems with the tight ends. I think that the running backs are going to be just fine, despite some trepidation about them in the preseason here. And then, if Aaron Rodgers is anything close to what I think he's going to be, I think that they're going to be just fine on that side of the ball and dominant on defense again to be considered one of the better teams in the AFC.
I want to ask you a question about two position groups, one on offense and one on defense, and how you expect the Steelers to deploy players at those positions. Let's start on the defensive side. Let's start with inside linebacker. At inside linebacker, you obviously have Peyton Wilson, who's going into year 2. You have Patrick Queen. You have Cole Holcomb, who actually does look healthy and kind of back to that pre-injury in 2023 form. You still have Carson Bruner on the roster, although he's kind of an afterthought as a special teamer. How do you think they're going to handle the inside linebacker reps, and especially when you have Queen, Wilson, and Holcomb? I forgot Malik Harrison, by the way.
Yeah.
Those first 3 that I mentioned, not Harrison, they want to be 3 down linebackers. Well, you don't need 3 inside linebackers. How do you think they're going to do that?
So I think it's going to be very matchup based. because you're going to have teams that like to use their backs as receivers a little bit more. You're going to have teams that want to run the ball and load up on blockers, right, at extra tight ends, 12 personnel, 13 personnel. And so, like, if I had to just throw it out for week 1, right, against the Jet, that's going to be one of the run heaviest teams in football this year. I expect a lot of those rotational run stuffing linebackers in that game. I think that they're going to be playing downhill on early downs. You're going to see a lot of Cole Holcomb. I think you're going to see a lot of Malik Harrison rotating in. But, I mean, at the same time, you do want to see Patrick Queen and Wilson fire. Yeah. Fire Peyton Wilson. Excuse me. I keep wanting to call him Roman Wilson. It's just not a good thing. Too many Wilsons here. But anyway, you want those guys to be able to fire down too and be able to cover as well. But in the end, you need your rock'em sock'em robots in there, and I think those two guys, Holcomb and Harrison, are going to play that role. So I think you're going to see a lot of those guys. It's going to be very fluid game to game, and there's a reason that they went heavy on the linebackers this year and got guys who can do a lot of a little bit of everything, right, Cole? Or you've got Harrison that can play on special teams. You've got Carson Bruno that can play on special teams. These guys are just hitters, and that's what they want to do. They don't want another Ravens 2024 situation happening to them again this year.
No, absolutely not. And I think it's going to be interesting, too, the communication aspect of things. They didn't get a lot of reps together. And so it's going to be really interesting. You know, Patrick Queen played sparingly in the preseason, not until week 3 at Carolina. But I agree with you. I think a lot of it's going to be matchup-based for sure. Now, let's go to the offensive side of the football, and let's talk about the running backs. We've talked a lot about Caleb Johnson. Jaylen Warren finally got some reps in that week 3 game. And I forget that we haven't talked since prior to that game. But then you have Kenneth Gainwell, who was obviously getting some run as well. What do you foresee? And let's focus on the early portions of the regular season, mainly in week 1. How do you see them deploying their running backs?
Well, I think Jaylen Warren's probably going to be the first guy out there, right? And I think that this team is going to be more pass-centric than we've been thinking they're going to be. I think that plays to the offensive line strength that we saw in the offseason. It plays to Aaron Rodgers' strengths, and it plays to the guys that you have. 2 of your 3 backs there are kind of like your shotgun, pass pro, get sweeps out of the backfield, take the delays up the middle and read the hole type backs in Warren and Gainwell. And those 2 guys I think are going to be utilized a lot early. Caleb Johnson to me is kind of like if they're getting under center and they want to chew some clock or turn out some yards or switch things up with heavy personnel, he's going to be in the lineup. But otherwise, if they're in shotgun, if they're in pistol, I think early on you're going to see a lot of Warren and Gainwell. And in week 1 specifically, I think you want to spread out this Jets defense. You don't want to get them too compact in the middle of the field. They've got a good defensive line. They've got good linebackers and good safety play as well in the box. They're going to be physical. So I think you want to kind of spread them out. And if you do that, I think the better backs for that are Warren and Gainwell. And then when you look at pass pro, Jeff, I think that's going to be very important early on for setting the tone for Aaron Rodgers and company. And you want Jaylen Warren in the backfield for pass pro. You just do at this point.
Yeah. I think that's what's going to hold Caleb Johnson back early on in the season until the offense and mainly Arthur Smith and by proxy Aaron Rodgers can trust Caleb Johnson to do the right thing, to make the right read, to go where he's supposed to go. It's going to stunt his growth a little bit. I still think he's going to be very prolific as a runner, but they're going to definitely use him in specific situations.
And as an aside, they're talking about that across the league with these rookie backs. It's like a lot of them came in and very highly regarded as a class of running backs. But like even over in Denver, everybody's talking about RJ Harvey for fantasy, right? But the beat reporters over there are like, he's 3rd on the depth chart because Sean Payton backs need to be able to pass block, and he hasn't shown that he can do that yet. So they're going to utilize him, but they're probably going to utilize him more in situations where that is not going to be a big part of his game. I would expect the same for Johnson early.
That's really fascinating when you bring that up about college, because a lot of times college football, you've heard a lot from quarterbacks. If they come from, let's say, an air raid system, does that translate to the NFL? Now people might be looking at running backs and saying, this guy at his college never was asked to pass block, and if he did, it was sparingly. that's a really important part of an NFL offense. And you look at Jaylen Warren and his body of work over the last 2 seasons, especially. He has absolutely done a phenomenal. I think he's one of the best pass blocking running backs in the NFL. He absolutely stuns people, and I think that's the best way to describe it. He stuns them. They don't expect it. I remember when Patrick Queen came over and signed as a Steeler, and they said, "What are your, what's some of the things that you think about the most?" And he said, "Man, number 30. Man, I can't wait to see number 30," because he's talking about Jaylen Warren. Do you see that being a trend now? As you follow college football way closer than I do. Do you see that as a trend now with the running backs?
I do, because in college football, everything is so role based. I mean, you've got 80, 90 players on an active roster every week, and you're rotating these guys in for college football. And so you've got guys specifically set for specific roles. And a lot of these scat back types that come out of college that play a lot on third down, they're a little bit more prepared for it even than the workhorse type guys that have been running for 1,500 yards every season in college. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy in the role playing that you have to do in college. Once you get to the NFL, it's, what does Mike Tomlin say? It's the more you can do, right? The more you'll be able to help us. That doesn't translate always right away for running backs. It's probably the hardest part about the transition from running back or from college to the NFL for running backs is the pass pro sets, how to read blitzers and pick things up like that. Because a lot of times if you're the star running back on your college team, you just take handoffs and you go, and that's all you do. So it is a little bit different.
All right. Last thing I want to talk about as it pertains to the roster cut downs, and this is definitely going to be a part of the special teams. What did you think about Corliss Waitman winning the punting job? I haven't gotten your take on that yet.
Yeah, I mean, when you just look at the raw preseason stats, it made total sense. Like, he was the one kicking the booming punts. He was, the guy taking advantage of, like, when they were asking for long ball punts, he was out there. Now, actually, he got more of those opportunities than Johnston did. Johnson was the one coming in for a lot of the pin inside the 20 type stuff, and he did well at that too. I don't think this necessarily came down to cost. Maybe it was just that Corliss Waitman's been there, done that for Pittsburgh now, and they like what they saw out of him enough to keep him on the roster. It was very interesting to me. It was kind of shocking at first, because I thought, yeah, the guy that you paid, that you hyped up and brought in as the antithesis to the punting woes that you've been having for years, that's the guy you're going to keep. Turns out no. And Waitman absolutely deserves it. I'm no knock against him. I just think that it was very surprising turnaround there.
The people that are saying that it was a cost savings measure, they don't need the money. They don't need the cap space. I think they had $36 million or something like that, maybe give or take here or there, in cap space. What do they need all that money for? They don't. They didn't cut Cam Johnson to save $2.5 million or something along those lines. They did it because they thought Corliss Waitman was better, and he proved himself as a holder. I mean, we'll see, but he did it all last season. So people that are also thinking like, well, he's got to show us. Well, he did that last year, and I got to be honest, he was phenomenal outside of one kick, and that was the kick in the blizzard in Cleveland. That was it. That's right. Outside of that, he had a fantastic season. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But go ahead. What are you going to say about that? Anything?
Well, when you're talking about a Mike Tomlin led team, and Danny Smith has been doing this for years here. Mike Tomlin talks about flipping the field all the time. The situational aspects of like a team that you go 3 and out on your own 20, you got to be able to flip that field or your defense is in a bad spot. And I think Tomlin's tired of the issues there. I think he's kind of leaning more towards like, I don't care if we get fewer pins inside the 20. I want the field flipping aspect of it. And if Waitman was a little bit more consistently doing that in practice and in the preseason games, then that's probably the direction that Tomlin would want to go. That's how I saw it playing out, was that when you asked the guy to go out and kick a 60-yarder, he was going out and kicking 60-yarders. And that's what you want from him.
Yeah, I just always remember when Sam Cook, or Coke, however you said his name, was the punter for the Ravens, and the Steelers defense would get a big 3 and out, and you're thinking, okay, we're going to get a good field position. He would kick a punt over the punt returner's head who'd have to run back. Next thing you know, you're pinned inside your own 20. You're like, how does this happen? Like, what's going on? I understand what you're saying. But all right, Jeremy, I want to let you get out of here with plug what you're doing both on the podcast side as well as the written side.
Yeah, so go check out the Steelers Fix from yesterday. We went through the AFC picks as kind of part 2 of our big prediction show that we try to do every year on the Fix. We did the NFC last week, so if you missed that, go check that out. And then we also did NFL awards. So go see where we had the Steelers finishing. It was a lot of fun to do. And then stick with us on the Draft Dynasty podcast. If you're not following along there, we're going to get into a lot of college football stuff over the next few weeks as fantasy drafts are winding down, and we're going to be focusing in on the next draft class and prepping throughout the college football season. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope you'll join us for it.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Jeremy. Enjoy the last weekend without Steelers football. And next week we'll be talking week 1 predictions, all that fun stuff. So, man, take it easy.
Yep.
Enjoy your weekend.
It's my daughter's birthday this weekend. Perfect
Nice.
timing.
There you go.
We get that done, and then football next week. It's going to be fun.
There you go, man. Enjoy it. Happy birthday to your daughter. We'll see you.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.